going to do a walkthrough of grooveStretch, which is my new patch that I made in Max MSP. Yeah, essentially it's a sampler, weird sampler kind of thing. For those who know Max, it's like a riff on the groove tilde object. And yeah, essentially I made this a few years ago and wanted something that would kind of recontextualize my samples that I was getting pretty bored of, and like spit out interesting rhythms by doing a bunch of different things like time stretching. I think time stretching is like the main kind of component, or kind of drawing, interesting point about this device, is kind of the artifacts you get from time stretching and all the different algorithms that Max has. Yeah, I mean, just essentially wanted something that could like just spit out interesting rhythms from my things, from my samples, and yeah, like very weird random textures was the idea. Yeah, and I think, Ableton, you can kind of do similar things in Sampler. I'm sure you could very easily program something in Ableton that works just like this. I just really like the Max algorithms for time stretching because I think they sound really cool, and I think they sound a lot more interesting than Ableton's warp modes. Okay, so I've loaded in my folder of samples. It's just a bunch of loops that I've made. And then, yeah, basically we've got our sample selector slider thing. And all these different sliders for this patch, they all run on their own clock and they all have their own amount of steps and whatever you can put in. So essentially, this is just selecting one of the samples from the folder that we've put in. So probably easiest to show and demonstrate. Yeah, and then I can increase the steps or whatever if I want to as well. Yeah, you get the idea. And yeah, so this runs on its own this own kind of timing system, I guess, because over here you will see there's something that says timing and 4n. So don't freak out. This is not actually super confusing. It's essentially the same as saying like 1/4. If I had to say go to 16n over here, that is the same as 1/16, or 1/16 notes. For those in Ableton, you'll know how this works. Yeah, so it's just the language that Max uses. All of that is all controlled by a master clock, though, from over here. And there's, if I click on BPM, and it's actually all controlled by Max's global transport. So yeah, so everything follows this 120 BPM, but you can set individual timing for each different multi-slider. So I can, for example, put the speed slider graph. I can put this at 2n. And then this will go every 2 beats. Yeah. Okay, so let's just get this running. I'm just going to go through the main controls here. We've got our time stretching modes, which is super important. If I click play here, I'm actually just going to stay on one sample because it's easiest to hear it like that. Okay. Okay, so we've got one sample playing. I'm going to slow this down. So I'm just going to put it up. It's going to sound really ugly right now, but just so you guys can hear what's happening, we've got the first mode over here, which is basic, and that essentially, yeah, sounds like this. And then we've got mono, rhythmic. Yeah, just recommend playing around with all of this stuff and seeing what works for you. I really love using the efficient mode because it's really like filled with lots of artifacts and cool things. Yeah, so there are also a lot of limitations, unfortunately, with some of Max's time stretching algorithms. So, for example, efficient, you'll hear it only kind of goes until 0. It doesn't really reverse, I don't think. Yeah, so if I put it into reverse mode, it doesn't do anything, which I also kind of need to improve this patch so that, you know, if you clicked it on efficient mode, it doesn't like allow you to go into minus here. And you guys will hear that it can get really messy, I think, when you're messing with the speed and stuff. The improvements I think I need to make for this patch, that I will hopefully do, so provided that people are using it, you know. Yeah, and like extreme stretch also has some limitations, I think, with the pitch. It can't go that high, which I should also probably fix, you know, because I don't think that should go, you shouldn't be allowed to go this high on the pitch. So yeah, there are some problems with how this patch, I think, is set up, but yeah, I'd just recommend exploring all the different modes, seeing what works. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, then what else have we got? We've obviously got the speed knob over here. I kind of brushed over that, but pretty self-explanatory. It just is the playback speed of the sampler. And then we've got the pitch. Yeah, and both the speed and the pitch can be modulated over here. If I just click random on both, then yeah, you can see over here where it's changing, and how it's offsetting. I mean, this is essentially just offsetting whatever the center value is that you put in over here. And then we have also got the trigger over here, which is a super important thing. It is essentially what is triggering the sample to play. So this is at a fixed value. I actually messed around with having one of these graphs to actually offset the trigger speed. But honestly, all the results came out really, really messy, and yeah, it just didn't work so well. So yeah, if people are very interested to have that as a feature, please let me know, and I'll maybe adjust. But yeah, this also just follows the same max timing system. So yeah, super fun to mess around with this, especially if you are hearing like a rhythm or texture that you're really happy with, or you're happy with what grooveStretch is putting out. Like a really cool, like once you're recording, a really cool thing to do is just change the speed, and you can get really different results from the same samples that you're selecting, and you can have really cool variations like that. Yeah, I mean, I think that covers. Oh, and we have also got over here the preset box, which essentially works by, I can just click this first preset that I've pre-saved on here, which sounds kind of miserable, but yeah, essentially you can just save states that you're happy with. You click, I think it's shift to store something, so I can go like this, you know, and change the steps and whatever. I'm just going to do something random and go like this, and then, you know, yeah, I've got different states. So that's what that is. So yeah, you click shift plus click to store a preset, and then you can click Alt and Shift. Was it just Alt? No, it's Alt and Shift to delete the preset. Yeah, so this saves with the patch. So if I had to if I had to save a bunch of presets or whatever, and then I had to exit this and click save, it will save with my specific project. But really important to note that saving does not like save your actual samples in the patch. You will have to load those up again, unfortunately. That is just kind of how Mac's architecture is designed for patches and things. So yeah, I don't know, maybe make a note if you're really attached to something and you haven't recorded it, which also I just recommend recording straight in instead of having all these presets as your as your library of sounds. You know, I really put in this preset box to allow you to save really interesting patterns that happen within these graphs, because I found that, like, for example, with this first pattern that I've just saved, okay, it doesn't sound great in this example, but it often sounds really, really good with a lot of different folders that I put in. So yeah, if you can try to think of it like that, it's a really helpful thing to do. Yeah, and then we've got random as well here, some other bits of features. We got random, just randomizes this the steps, so you don't have to just keep going like this. If you want something different, you can just click like that. And reset just centers it back to 0. Yeah, and then we've got slide over here, which is particularly useful for pitch and speed. I actually don't think it's useful at all for sample. I should probably remove it from here. And probably for start as well. I imagine it's just a messy feature. But yeah, essentially this allows the values to slide. So, So if I randomize this, and then you'll see this little output here. If I push the slide up, you'll see all the values slide to one another. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. It's just maybe a little bit less static and less blocky, you know. So okay, and then yeah, I'm just going to show some examples of how I like to use it. So I'm just going to reset everything. Honestly, I find that always the best results I tend to get are pretty intentional. So start really simple. I usually start with all these graphs at 0. Randomize the samples, or just draw in a shape if I want to just scan through them more or less. I put this on 4n usually. So yeah, I'm just going to show some examples and how I use it. And then, yeah, let's see. So yeah, I mean, essentially what I would take something like this and yeah, just cut it up and maybe put it into a sampler, and it can like start an idea. Which this is just kind of a more crazy kind of texture. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm playing around there with the pitch. Like I'm actually just doing that with my hand, with my mouse. And yeah, I mean, you can just kind of go crazy with it, and I just find it's best for like really more experimental results. I mean, what's also key here is that I am using this rack that is included on the Patreon. Yeah, it's available as a download, which yeah uses like a grain delay, some multi-band compression, some like echo and reverb. I kind of always throw this on, or I maybe make my own rack if I've got something particular in mind, just because I just find it really works well in combination with external effects. So yeah, that is link is in description. So